One of the problems with painting in a digital environment is that you have access to millions of colors. If I tap on my color picker here in Photoshop, just in this one hue, I mean, the range of colors I have here to choose from is already in the thousands. And as I slide along just a bit here or there, I'm already going to be looking at thousands of colors more. Unless you are a master of color and have such an innate sense for what looks good, this is going to be a really challenging thing to pick harmonious colors in your illustration. Now, the trick I use is simply what I would do with traditional media, which is to start by limiting my colors with a few primaries and then mixing some colors in there. That's the first step. Now, of course, you can add a few extra colors on top of those primaries if you want to get a little more fancy, but I'm going to show you how I do it with just some primaries and how many colors that will yield. And all those colors that come out of those three primaries are going to be harmonious. So let's get started. I'm going to pick any old, it doesn't matter, any blue. I could go cooler, I could go warmer, it does not matter. Okay, I'm just going to start here and put down some color. I want to mention the brush I'm using so that you all can use something similar. The brush I'm using is the Creamy Variation brush in Kyle's Paint Box, which is in the Mega Pack. You get that with all your Photoshop brushes if you have a CC subscription, Creative Cloud subscription. If you don't have that, don't worry about it. Just use any brush that will modify its opacity based on the pressure that you're using with your stylus, okay? That's the main thing that matters. Okay, now just some kind of a yellow here. I could go cool, warm. I could even go more towards a green like this, but we'll keep things pretty simple for now. And then for some kind of a red, maybe go up to somewhere in this vicinity. There's nothing too exciting about these three colors. They look pretty much like what you'd expect from primaries. Normally I would probably push this blue a little bit more towards cyan, but what I'm going to show you later is it doesn't matter. Okay, these blues, these reds, these yellows, they could be more green, they could be more orange, they could be more purple, and I'll show you how this works. All right, now what I do is I hold down the Option key, all right, in Photoshop, and that's going to temporarily pull up my eyedropper tool, all right, so I can sample color. And I just grab some of this red and I lightly paint over some of that yellow. And then I sample that new color, put it off to the side here. All right, now that can be my orange if I want. If I want to add a bit more yellow to it, I can simply grab the yellow, paint lightly over here, and then I have another orange. All right, now I continue doing this with the other primaries, so I'll mix the red a little bit into the purple. I'm holding down the Option key constantly to sample color from my document, all right? Hold down the Option key, tap, and paint lightly on top. When I say paint lightly, I mean I'm using less pressure, and that is going to reduce the opacity and allow me to then sample that new color, okay, that I've created like so. All right, now I'll go and do the yellow on top of the blue. Keep in mind that if you're mixing color in an RGB environment, what's going to happen is you're going to dull those greens a little bit. They're not going to be that saturated. If you want to work around this problem, it's very easy, okay? You see the green that I just created here, not too exciting, all right? It's a little desaturated. If I look over here where my colors are, I can see how far to the left that has been pushed, right? So here's what I do. If I want to get more of that color a bit richer, I just move a little bit over to the right, okay, from wherever that color is, and then I can put that down. And that could be my more saturated version of that color, all right? If I were working with natural media, likely this would be closer to what I would actually achieve. So if you want to get your greens a little boosted, that's what you can do, but you're still going to ensure that they're in that right range, that they're coming from those original colors, and you're not pushing it all over the place or changing the hue and so on to get a color that isn't harmonious. So what I wind up with is my secondary colors, right? I've got my orange, my purple, and my green. Now from here, what I can do is I can mix those secondary colors together and I can get some nice, more neutral colors. So if I take the green, for example, and push it over here on top of this purple and sample that color, that's a nice one, all right? I could grab this orange, push it over here on top of this purple here, and that's a really rich color actually, pretty lovely. Take the orange and then mix it with the green, right? And that's going to give me this. And I can continue to mix these colors with one another, right? You can see how you just keep doing this. Now, the issue you run into is with the values, okay? So if everything winds up being sort of middle of the road or a little higher value, right, lighter value, you want to be able to push things darker, and that's where you need a white and a black. What I do is whatever blue I'm using, whether that's a purple or a blue or whatever the cool bluish color is I'm using in my mixing, I sample that color and I just slide on down to a really nice dark version of it, and I increase the saturation all the way to the right, okay? And I just plop that down on my canvas. And I take that color, and all I do is I mix it with everything else I've got, okay? Sample it again, mix it with my red, throw that down here. So now I'm going to get some nice darker colors, okay, from my primaries. And then I can do the same thing with these secondary colors, right? Grab this. Got to get in the habit of using that Option key to constantly be sampling from your canvas. After a while, it becomes second nature. If you are on a PC, okay, Option key is your Alt key. Alrighty? Go back to this dark color here. I could do this, mix it with one of these colors that I mixed from the tertiary colors there. Look at that, right? Now I can continue to do this and get these darker value colors. Now for the lighter colors, of course, you can use white. But another option, and I do this very frequently, is I choose one of my primaries and I do a lighter version of that for my white. So for example, my yellow, I'll just push that all the way up here. All right, so it's not totally white. It's still got a hint of that yellow in it, right? And it's not totally pushed up to the very top, right? It's just sitting down a little bit below that. Put that down on my canvas. Take note that my canvas is actually not white either. I made that a gray color to start with. This helps you to see your light colors, okay? So I can then sample this, mix it on top of the yellow. Here we go, right? And then grab it here, mix it on top of the blue, and start putting in these really light colors. Now, using this technique, you can build out a massive palette, all right? And what you want to do then is decide, okay, I want to limit these colors down to something that I can work with. You don't want to have 400 colors sitting on your canvas. But already what you've done is you've started creating a bunch of colors that are going to work nicely with each other, okay? So what I would do then is perhaps say, all right, I'm going to grab one more and do a lighter version of my red, put that up here. And then to keep things simple, I'll say, all right, I'm going to grab a light yellow, going to grab this orange here, okay? Sort of an orangey yellow, I guess. Maybe grab this purplish color here and grab a darker version of that. So I'm sampling from here and then painting over here. So I want to use that in my palette. Go ahead and use the darkest dark. That's nice. And then I want to have a couple of more options in the blue range here. So maybe this fella right here. And let's do something a little less saturated. So I'll take the blue and I'll mix it with the orange. Okay, and that'll make it a bit duller. See that? Maybe that's a bit too dull. Add a bit more blue to it. I can just go back and forth until I get what I like. There we go. And maybe I want a lighter version of that to work with. Grab my white, so to speak, and hit that there. And that's hard for you to see against the gray, so I'll go ahead and darken that up for you so you can see that clearly. There you go. And this could be the beginnings of a palette for myself right here. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 colors that I feel pretty good about. If I want to throw a green in there, I can work with any of these, but I think maybe I want to keep it pretty desaturated. Something like this might play nicely. Throw that in there next to the orangey yellow color. See how that feels. And what I do next is I look to see if I have a good range. So I've got 9 colors here to play with. And what I'll do is I'll make a layer on top of everything, okay? And I'll fill it with black. I'm just hitting Option Delete to fill with my foreground color. And that would be Alt Delete on a PC. And I fill it with black. And I change the layer blending mode to hue. And I just take a look at it for a moment. And I say, all right, let's see. I have some light colors there. I have some middle of the road colors and a few darks. Maybe I want one more dark. So I'll just hide that layer for a second. And maybe I want to go with a warmer dark color. Something like this might work. Or I could grab the black and just pop it on top of this orangey color here and see what that gives me. I like that. And maybe I want to blend that a bit with the darker blue color here, like that. And maybe warm it up just a hair with more of the red there. See how that feels. And that could get a bit darker. There we go. And a bit lighter. I just like to fine tune, just go back and forth. And eventually I wind up with something that I think might work. Throw that in the mix. Okay. And then folks, that could be my whole palette. So from here, I can just grab this and I'm going to hit Command J. That's going to duplicate my selection. I can hide everything else I have here. And then I can just start playing around and see if I need anything to add. So I keep this other mess of colors available to myself for when I want it, okay? So to start with, I could just throw in a nice light color here with that sort of lemony, bright yellow color. Okay, sort of like a creamy kind of color. There we go. And once I put down that color, I can go ahead and lock my layer transparency and just start having some fun with cutting out some shapes just to see how everything feels. So, I might do a little figure here. So let's do person like this. I'm thinking I have some like cool collar sort of a thing going on here. And I'll move that selection over this way. And inside that, I can just start painting. So I could do this color for the hair. And then maybe see how that feels for the skin tone there. All right, already everything I'm doing looks fine. These colors work together. I'm not worried about it. I already know that these are going to look nice because I worked with those 3 original colors to build everything that you're seeing here on the screen. Okay, that makes sense. I'll invert my selection, Command-Shift-I, and then I'll grab this darker green color here. And I see there's not enough contrast between the blue and the green there, and that's fine because, as you know, I can build more colors if I want, right? Simply by grabbing a darker color like this and adding it here and then sampling that and saying, oh yeah, okay, that'll give me more contrast there. Excellent. Maybe I want to add a little touch of blue here and there in the sky for this painting. Okay, invert my selection again, Command-Shift-I, and throw a bit of sort of a highlight there in the hair, okay? Maybe that's what's happening. This is all just an experiment for now. All right, so let's deselect, and then let's pop that out against a little bit of white so we can see how that feels. And there you go. So I can look at something like that and zoom out, and I can squint at it. I can always throw my black layer on there at the top, remember that, and see how we're doing. Got this whole area getting lost right there. And if that's a problem, easy to fix. I can just grab my lighter color there and hit that so that silhouette becomes easier to read. See what I mean? No problem. And hit it dark on this side maybe. Okay? And coming on this side, throw in a bit more contrast. So there you go. There's a quick little sketch. Nothing fancy, but I'm able to get started on an illustration with colors that I know are going to be okay together. these are not going to be offensive colors. Not going to cause me any problems. Right? And now I'm just, fiddling around and start getting into more and more contrast and whatnot, right? But this works for any style of illustration. If you want to do something really, really flat, not painterly, so to speak, and all that, to make yourself a little 5-color, 6-color palette, you start with those simpler colors. Now, at the beginning, what I said was I was going to show you about, working with colors that are not so expected, right, for your primaries. Totally works. You can do that same thing. You can use this same technique that way if you wish, and it's going to be fine. You're going to yield good results. So, for example, if I want my blue, so to speak, to be more of a greenish kind of almost like a teal, whatever that is. I don't even know what to call that color. And then I want my yellow to be something more bright and orangey. That's fine. And for my red, I could go almost to this crazy pink, bright pink color like that. It doesn't matter, okay? Grab one, paint it over the other one, make your secondary color, grab the other, right? And keep on going with that same technique as before, okay? Start mixing those together. There you go. And again. Another one. And again. And we keep heading like this, and then start grabbing your primaries, mixing those with your secondaries. Get that a little darker. There we go. Look at that nice color right there. Beautiful. Okay, mix my yellow with this color here. That gives me a nice, more neutral, mustardy yellow kind of a color, right? Don't forget to take this, make it darker, and that can be my black. Okay, mix that with some stuff. Mix it with the yellow. You'll probably get a nice sort of a green. Oh, that's another nice mustardy color. See how this works? And again, I'll build a little palette out of this. See what kind of cool colors result from mixing any of these and all of them together. Okay? For the light, this time, why don't we use the pink, come on up this way. And there's my, so to speak, my white, all right? And then grab that and start mixing that with some of the other colors. And look how quickly you build out a palette for yourself to work with. Okay, there's a nice color there. And let's see what happens when I pop it over on top of this green. Lovely. And then same deal, right? Just grab a few of these that you think will work nicely together. So, here's some nice ones. I like this whole area here, kind of like this one. I might want to include, this one might be nice, Maybe just go in this direction here. Command J. All right, as before. And we hide all this stuff. And now this is my new palette I have to work with here, right? So we've got this guy, and now I can start playing around with all these and see what I can make with this palette. Okay, can even go lighter than that. Oh, I already have that one. Here we go. All right, you see how we do this? Look at all those colors. These colors look nice together. Haven't yet explored, how to get the right range of values there, but that is obviously not a problem. Remember, I can always come back to this layer. I can grab my dark right there, and I can just add it to anything, right? And push it even darker. Okay? And you can always turn the black layer on and look at your range there and say, yeah, I got some lights, I got some darks, I got some medium stuff, some mids. And there you go. That is the method that I use. And I love it because I'm not an expert in color. I struggle with color all the time, but this really keeps me from having any problems in that area. Okay. So there's a quick demo for you. Give this a try. Remember to use a brush that is tied to opacity with pen pressure so that you can use light pressure to just paint a little lighter. Remember the trick about pushing the greens a little more saturated if you want to because you're working in an RGB environment. Another thing you can do too is for any of the colors you mix, if you feel they're a little too desaturated, just always slide them just a touch to the right, directly to the right, not up or down, just a hair to the right to push that saturation. And remember that colors are not as saturated as you think they are in the real world. It's just that whatever color you place next to a color can enhance that saturation. You put one color next to its complementary color, it's going to enhance that saturation of that color. So that sort of vibration effect that you're looking for, you can do that in your own paintings. You don't want to stay in an area over here where you get this warning sign right here. See that little orange triangle showing up telling me, hey, that color is not print safe, okay? These garish, bright, brilliant colors that look kind of exciting on screen oftentimes can lead to a lot of problems when you're trying to really make an illustration that reads clearly and isn't just so colorful that you don't know what to look at. Better to stick around in this kind of area, you know, somewhere in the middle, around here, down here, over here, okay, to get some better color harmony. All right, so that's my advice. Check it out, try this out, let me know what you think, and thanks for watching.